Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
One lesson from the global pandemic was that pharmaceutical supply chains are international, complicated, and slow to respond in crisis. A new government program is aiming to use only domestic products to make medicines at the point of care. Here to share more about this innovative effort is the manager of the Equip-A Pharma program, Dr. Sushma Savarala. Dr. Savarala, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk about a very interesting program, the Equip-A Pharma program. Can you begin by telling us a little bit about what it is and what you hope to accomplish?
Definitely. So, Equip-A Pharma is basically establishing qualification process for agile pharmaceutical manufacturing. So this particular program is a very collaborative program between DARPA and ASPR, and this seeks to demonstrate a real-time digital regulatory approval framework for multiple finished drug products produced in a single reprogrammable hardware platform. This program, like I said before, is a combination of both these, which I like to call it a DARPA hard program to be ASPR ready. This particular program establishes a modular, scalable manufacturing platforms to produce drugs from domestic raw materials, targeting those FDA's drug shortage list medicines. This also involves a lot of key performers in the private sector. And our aim over the next year, the course of this program, is for each company or each proposer and its partners who will aim to show us that with their agile technologies, they can potentially make APIs, which is active pharmaceutical ingredients, and specific FDFs, which is finished drug formulations or medications, at the point of care. And these pilots, we want to address US-based manufacturing of at least 8 APIs and finished drug formulations of different forms like injectables, oral medications, etc. And I also want to say that this program, which is manufacturing medications from start to finish, is going to be in the United States, which ensures a secure supply of essential medicines, and that's the need of the hour. And we're trying to move away from traditional manufacturing, which is very rigid to adapt and slow to adapt to these changing demands, and trying to move more towards agile, modular manufacturing. And this program also kind of gets into the ASPR IBMSC supply chain portfolio of getting that supply chain resilience, reducing reliance on foreign suppliers, particularly the global suppliers, thereby mitigating those geopolitical disruptions. And I also want to point out that this particular program, Equip-A Pharma, is all about point of need manufacturing at hospitals, military bases, disaster zones, and this ensures the rapid drug availability during emergencies, both for the DARPA, DoD part of it, and also for the public health, which encompasses the ASPR part of the portfolio.
So this sounds a little bit Star Trek-ish, like you could make something and just ask for it and it would come out of the machine. Can you talk us through like one example? What does it mean to manufacture something like lidocaine, which was one of the products, and do it at a point of care?
Yes, definitely. You put it really well. It is very futuristic. And so let me give you a very simple example of, if you can imagine a pharmaceutical industry or a pharmaceutical company, the vision that comes to you is huge reactors, huge tableting machines. And well, that's worked well, but that's very traditional. And when there is a need, for example, when there's an emergency like a COVID, it's very difficult for those huge pharmaceutical industries to change those APIs really quickly. But this particular Equip-A Pharma program does two things really well. One, it's very modular, which means it's very small, and it's very agile, which means it's movable. So you can actually take this particular reprogrammable platform, which makes KSM which is key starting materials, APIs, which is active pharmaceutical ingredients, and then also converts them to finished drug formulations. If you can imagine, my table is right here on a desktop or in a huge container, like a container trailer, and it can take it to the point of need, to the manufacturers, to the hospitals, to disaster zones, and in the future, we really want to be able to, for example, there's a hurricane, there's so many calamities, and you need a particular API. Lidocaine is one of the examples, but we want to make sure that this particular mobile agile platform can make the APIs that we need, but also change really, really quickly. Like adaptability is the biggest thing that we are looking for. That can change from one finished drug formulation, one API to another API really quickly. And that's what we mean by point of need, agile, modular manufacturing.
I'm speaking with Dr. Sushma Savarala. She's a program manager at DARPA and a scientist with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services who manages the Equip-A Pharma program. So you said that this program is only 1 year. It sounds like you've got a lot to accomplish in this scientific partnership, but you're also dealing with multi-sector participation. So you've got private sector, you've got public sector. Can you tell us a little bit about who's involved and how you're navigating that complex regulatory space?
Yes, definitely. Great question, actually. So this particular program, like I was alluding to before, is a very collaborative program between DARPA. It rests in BTO, which is Biological Technologies Office, and HHS. It rests in ASPR, IBMSC, which is Industrial Base Management and Supply Chain Office. So this is a very collaborative project. So DARPA kind of helps as a program manager at DARPA. I oversee the performer progress. I coordinate with a lot of government advisory groups. And that's where your question comes in, wherein this is not, even though it's funded by DARPA and IBMSC, this is a program wherein we have a huge working group of different government advisory boards. We have DOD, we have HHS, we have commerce experts, we have FDA. We have a collaboration wherein everybody is thinking about that next step in the pharmaceutical supply chain, that next step in making sure that we have the APIs and finished drug formulations for this country at the time of need. So I want to say that even though this is a very HHS and DARPA program, we do have the support and collaboration from various federal departments. And also, I do want to mention that we have great performers. We have 4 performers who are part of this portfolio. The 4 performers are Brightpath Labs, Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs, Rutgers, and Battelle. And they design, build, and operate this agile manufacturing platforms. So to answer I know I'm rhetorically answering the first part of the question last, but it is a 2-year program. So the first 3 months to 6 months was to figure out those collaborations. As you know, APIs and finished drug formulations are its own beasts. So one particular company or performer would be a great API manufacturer, and we gave them 3 to 6 months to find those collaborations so that they can have the API manufacturing and the finished drug manufacturing suite. The next 12 to 18 months is making sure that they do what we have asked them to do, which is making these APIs and finished drug formulations. And the last 3 to 6 months is for them to use the new technology that we have available. So, for example, there's a lot of in-process data that comes out when you're manufacturing APIs and finished drug formulations, and traditionally less than 1% of the data was used. Equip wants to change that. We want to be able to use at least 80% of the in-process data for that quality attributes. FDA would really appreciate if everybody uses the data that we have to make sure that we give them what's required for them to make that quick decision. So we are trying to make sure that all our performers use artificial intelligence, machine learning, metrology to use that data for that FDA approval. And FDA is also moving towards the right direction, and it is also working towards, collaborating with lots of these performers and collaborating with different government agencies to make sure that we are moving in that right direction. So EQIP is a combination of all of that. And yes, it is a DARPA Heart program. We are making sure that we have the right people to make sure that this DARPA Heart programs becomes ASPR ready, for the public, for the health of this country.
I've been speaking with Dr. Sushma Savarala. She's a program manager at DARPA, a scientist with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and she's the manager of the EQIP-A Pharma program. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you every success in this really important program.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Federal News Network.
We'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.